Part 2 of the Blockchain Revolution. If you have not seen Part 1 of the Blockchain Revolution, we recommend to watch Part 1 first before seeing this video. This content is sponsored by Pinterest. Custom design your hoodies, shirts, bags, sweatshirts, and mugs from comfort of your laptop or mobile. Upload your digital design, custom designed it, and Pinterest will handle the rest. There's the farm, the pickers, the shipping, the processing, the packaging, the labeling, and then your grocery store. That's a lot of trust. But what if you could tag that apple at the farm and create a blockchain, tracking it as it passes through all of those hands? A new block would lock in the information about where it came from, where it's been, and how it got to you. You could track backwards through the blockchain to guarantee that the farm it came from is organic. Same for things like fair trade coffee and chocolate.
If it's organic coffee, you can trace that it came from this farm at this elevation, at this time of year, and on this day. And then as that's fed into the supply chain, you're carrying all of that provenance with it, so that when it finally gets to the package, if there's ever a question, you're looking at that package, take the identifying information off of it, and you can quickly compare it back through that path to verify that it is what somebody says.
And if something goes terribly wrong, like people getting sick from eating lettuce that carries deadly bacteria, the blockchain record of that lettuce would lead directly and immediately to the source of the disease. There would be no need for widespread panic, along with the waste and financial devastation of having to pull all the romaine lettuce in the country from the shelves.
One of the easiest places to look is from the idea of food safety. Recently, executives from Walmart were talking about this as it applied to mangoes and challenged their people with their existing technologies. How long is it going to take you to take this package of mangoes off the shelf and tell me where they came from? And I believe the number they came out was, over 6 days to trace it all the way back through their suppliers and handlers and processors and everything to get back to the farm it came from. And through a blockchain pilot, it took 2.2 seconds. And what that allows is, if we had a contamination issue, to react to it with much more speed, but also much more precision, because if you know that that package came from a specific farm and maybe through specific processors and handlers, that means, one, you can target those for the remediation, but two, the rest of the supply was unaffected. And we saw with romaine lettuce and other things recently that if you can't react to that speed because the public health consequences are so big, the reaction is usually to just wipe out the supply.
Beyond the supply chain, transportation is another industry where blockchain technology can be of huge advantage.
Autonomous vehicles is an innovation that is here to stay. We know that vehicle-to-vehicle communication occurs, right? So there are standards and protocols in place that allows one autonomous vehicle to communicate with another autonomous vehicle, so that if an autonomous vehicle is braking, the vehicle behind it receives a message that says, I'm braking, you need to brake as well. The challenge, though, is how does an autonomous vehicle see around the corner? How does it see beyond its direct line of sight? And how does it trust any information that it actually is being told? So the new scenario that we're seeing is vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to infrastructure, where the city infrastructure can now be leveraged to inform an autonomous vehicle compute platform to make a decision of one way or another. But why should that vehicle, who is today classically making decisions on its own with the data that it's seen from its direct line of sight, why should it trust anything that it's seeing from infrastructure? We think that blockchain is a unique opportunity where if you can actually create a root of trust and a chain of trust of the entire infrastructure, which includes the supply chain, the manufacturer of how that infrastructure was built, how it's operated, and the applications that's currently running on it to make those recommendations to autonomous vehicles. With blockchain, we think that now there's a unique opportunity where an autonomous vehicle can now trust data that it's seeing from outside of its sphere of influence.
And that sphere is growing. Blockchain can influence the trading of renewable energies as well.
There's a project out there referred to as the Brooklyn microgrid. It's a network of homes that have, some number of them have solar panels, and rather than being reliant on the utility, it's allowing neighbors to transact directly with one another.
When a home with solar powers collect more energy than it needs, the excess energy is traditionally sent back to the energy company for a credit to the homeowner. In a network of homes, however, blockchain would in essence create and manage the necessary transactional data and decision to purchase and sell the excess energy between the participating homes.
As renewables are being deployed much more broadly, it's becoming challenging for the utility to take all that back in and then to sell it back out because it doesn't store. I mean, outside of batteries and other things where that technology is not really mature enough yet, electricity has to be used as it's generated. And by allowing neighbors to transact directly with one another and to use it, that offers a lot more value potentially to these deployments above and beyond just what is being offered from a utility.
This versatile technology is also fast at work in solving problems in another major area, personal identity.
The problem with identity now is you have a lot of people in this world today that do not have a formal piece of identification. So who are they, where they come from, where are they going? That's a big challenge today. In developed nations, not so much of a problem.
The idea of digital identity has more value potentially to a population in a place that doesn't have all of the entrenched components the United States does. We have social security numbers, addresses, we have bank accounts. It helps identify us. Where blockchain is offering value is if we are able to establish somebody or something as unique. There are some blockchain-based solutions that are allowing these individuals to access financial institutions, like a card that has a digital identifier on it, and by going up and swiping this card, they're able to open up banking to these villages that have not had that experience, and then access their financial resources through a blockchain-driven network.
This is one of those key technologies that is actually decentralizing and democratizing innovation itself. Innovation is happening at the consensus layer, and innovation is happening at the smart contracts layer within the blockchain space. It's happening most certainly at the business layer. It's happening at a global scale and at a pace that we haven't seen in a very, very long time.
To listen to some people, blockchain has the potential to fix pretty much anything that ails the world. But as usual, all that glitters is not gold. Blockchain's got baggage. Serious baggage. To begin with, the software behind a blockchain has to be written perfectly. And we know how often that happens. Like never, a coding error could allow someone to make off with millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency, which has actually happened.
It's referred to often as the castle walls problem. It doesn't matter how high you build your castle wall if you leave the door open. And that's the nature of all of these security incidents, is someone has capitalized upon a vulnerability, a backdoor that was left open, if you will.
While, yes, it's true that blockchain networks are immutable, the data that is within them can't be changed, can't be modified, the fact of the matter is that if you don't leverage and employ best practices in enterprise security, you can actually compromise entire blockchain ecosystems.
And it wasn't a compromise of sort of the blockchain encryption methodology itself. It was compromising the participants in this network and then using the rules in the network against itself.
And big blockchains are cumbersome energy consumers. Updating all the records that are distributed on thousands or millions of computers takes time and eats up power by some estimates. The energy that goes into generating new bitcoins a massively complex computation called mining now consumes more energy than some countries do. Experts worry that Bitcoin is becoming a significant contributor to climate change. And of course there are just plain scams. Recently a so-called cryptocurrency named OneCoin turned out to be a simple Ponzi scheme in which people lost millions. It had never been based on a blockchain to begin with. So depending on who you ask, blockchain may be all promise and profit, or failure and fiasco. The reality is somewhere in between.
I do think it's a revolutionary technology, or a technology that offers a lot of revolutionary promise. I don't know that it's just going to magically unseat, all of our legacy technologies, but I think it is an interesting tool to have in our bag, and it offers a lot of value to a lot of different industries, which makes it unique.
And until the wrinkles are ironed out, well, blockchain has yet to fulfill its most basic potential, a revolutionary solution to questions that have plagued humanity since our beginnings. Who can you trust? What can you trust? Can we really eliminate trust from how we interact? And would we really want to? Thanks for watching. This content is sponsored by printyrest.com. Click the link to create and custom design your urban wares.